The night air was thick with tension, and fans could barely believe what they were seeing. Rumors had been swirling for weeks, whispers of secret meetings and hushed phone calls, but no one expected the shocking footage that would surface tonight. Kirk, usually the picture of composure, was caught in an intimate moment with Jasmine after hours, under the cover of darkness. The images alone sent social media into a frenzy, but it wasn't just the encounter itself that had everyone talking. Rasheeda, Kirk's longtime partner, was filmed breaking down in front of the camera, her emotions raw and unfiltered. Emotions ran high as fans tried to piece together what led to this explosive moment. The family was left divided, friends were taking sides, and the online world couldn't stop sharing, commenting, and speculating. Every angle seemed more scandalous than the last, and the tension between loyalty and betrayal hung over the scene like a storm cloud. As the footage unfolded, you could almost feel the heartbreak, the rage, and the disbelief radiating from Rasheeda, her voice trembling as she confronted Kirk about what had been happening behind her back. The air was electric with drama, every glance and word charged with meaning, leaving viewers questioning not only the future of their relationship but the trust that had been shattered in an instant. This was more than just a late-night rendezvous. It was a collision of secrets, emotions, and public scrutiny that no one could ignore. Fans are shocked. The emotional fallout is just beginning, and what happened next would leave everyone on the edge of their seats, wondering who would come out of this unscathed and who would be forever changed. The tension in the room was palpable, almost suffocating. Kirk paced back and forth, his phone clutched tightly in his hand as if it were a lifeline, while Rasheeda sat on the edge of the couch, her eyes red and swollen from hours of crying. The night had started so ordinarily, a quiet evening at home, and yet everything had spiraled into chaos in a matter of minutes. The images circulating online were brutal, showing Kirk and Jasmine together, their laughter and closeness captured in ways that made Rasheeda's heart shatter all over again. She had tried to convince herself it was just rumors, that the late-night messages and whispered phone calls were harmless, but seeing it with her own eyes made denial impossible. Fans were shocked, flooding social media with screenshots and speculation, while the family was left divided, some offering Rasheeda support, others silently judging her for the heartbreak she now bore alone. Emotions ran high, every glance exchanged between Kirk and Rasheeda carrying the weight of betrayal and hurt. "How long has this been going on?" Rasheeda's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, yet the power behind it was unmistakable. Kirk's silence was deafening, his hands shaking as he finally met her gaze, knowing no excuse could erase the evidence. Jasmine, unaware of the full extent of the storm she had entered, seemed unfazed, her own social media hinting at secrecy and thrill, the kind of thrill that only intensified the fire burning in Rasheeda's chest. Friends tried to intervene, calling, texting, but nothing could penetrate the bubble of tension that had formed around the trio. Every message was a reminder, every notification a new dagger, and Rasheeda felt herself teetering on the edge of collapse. She had trusted Kirk, believed in the promises whispered late at night, and now those words were meaningless, drowned in the footage that had gone viral before she could even process the shock. The house, usually a sanctuary, now felt like a cage, walls closing in with every thought of what she had just witnessed. Her mind raced through every moment, every smile Kirk had given her, trying desperately to pinpoint the moment when it had all gone wrong. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, a gnawing wound that would not heal easily. Kirk tried to speak, each word fumbling out, hollow and inadequate against the storm raging before him. "Rasheeda, it's not what it looks like," he began, but the sincerity in his voice was drowned by the evidence staring back at them from every screen. The cameras outside had captured the late-night rendezvous, the laughter, the touches, everything, and there was no way to spin the narrative. Fans were watching, commenting, predicting, and mocking. The world seemingly tuned in to witness the unraveling of a relationship once thought untouchable. The intensity of Rasheeda's pain was amplified by the reactions of those around her. Friends whispered, some tried to mediate, others just watched silently, their judgment heavy in the air. The night stretched endlessly, each tick of the clock amplifying the suspense, making every second feel like an eternity. Kirk's attempts to explain, to justify, fell flat, each phrase more hollow than the last, and Rasheeda's heart hardened with every passing moment. She stood abruptly, pacing the floor, fists clenched, tears streaming freely. "How could you do this to me? After everything?" Her voice cracked but carried through the house, a raw, unfiltered declaration of betrayal. Kirk flinched, guilt evident, yet his own frustration simmered beneath the surface. It wasn't just the act itself, he argued internally. It was the destruction of trust, the public spectacle, the knowledge that every fan, every friend, every follower had a front-row seat to the collapse of their private lives. Jasmine, ever the enigma, posted vague stories, cryptic captions that hinted at secrets yet to be revealed, fueling speculation and keeping the fire alive. The tension wasn't just between the three of them, it spread outward, infecting every interaction, every message, every glance. Fans speculated about motives, about hidden truths, about the timeline of events. And the pressure mounted on Rasheeda like a storm she couldn't escape. She retreated to her bedroom, slamming the door, leaning against it as if it could hold back the flood of emotions threatening to drown her. The sounds of the night-distant traffic, the hum of electronics, the faint creak of the floorboards seemed amplified in the silence, each one a reminder of the chaos outside. Kirk followed, hesitation in his steps, unsure whether to knock, to speak, to apologize, or simply to leave. The camera crew, already present to document the unfolding drama for the fans, captured every every subtle shift, every tremor of voice, painting a vivid portrait of heartbreak and confusion. Rasheeda's words spilled out, a torrent of anger and sorrow. "Do you even know what you've done? Do you understand what it feels like to see the person you love laughing in the arms of someone else?" Kirk's silence persisted, a mixture of guilt and desperation, each passing second making reconciliation seem more impossible. The night continued, each hour thick with unresolved tension. Friends tried to offer comfort, but the wound was too fresh, too raw, too visible in every tear and every glance. Rasheeda's heartbreak became a spectacle, fans debating, sympathizing, criticizing, their fascination only deepening the emotional chasm between the couple. Whispers of confrontation, of public statements, of social media posts, hung in the air, each possibility more volatile than the last. The emotional stakes were immense, not just for Kirk and Rasheeda, but for Jasmine, whose role as the catalyst of chaos became more pronounced with every passing moment. Jealousy, regret, defensiveness, and desperation collided, creating a storm that no apology could weather. The night was far from over, and the fallout had only begun. Emotions ran high, tears flowed freely, voices rose in frustration and pain. Kirk tried to reach out, to touch, to explain, but the gulf between them had widened beyond repair in the eyes of Rasheeda, and perhaps in the eyes of the world watching. Friends debated what advice to give, some urging forgiveness, others cautioning self-preservation. The media frenzy outside added fuel to the fire. Reporters camped nearby, hoping for a statement, a confrontation, anything that would add more drama to an already volatile situation. Rasheeda's mind raced with memories, with promises made, with moments shared, now tainted by betrayal and doubt. She paced, stopped, sat, and stood again, a whirlwind of emotion, each movement a testament to the turmoil inside. Kirk, too, felt the weight, the suffocating pressure of public scrutiny, personal failure, and emotional collapse. The night stretched endlessly, a maze of confrontation and reflection, where every word, every glance, every silence carried enormous weight. The family, once a united front, now found themselves divided, some supporting Rasheeda unequivocally, others silently taking Kirk's side, the fracture lines in relationships becoming visible and irreparable. The drama was no longer confined to the private realm, it had spilled into the digital world, fans dissecting every frame, analyzing every message, creating theories and fueling speculation. Rasheeda's breakdown became emblematic of betrayal and emotional devastation, and Kirk's attempts at explanation were like fragile lifeboats in a storm too violent to navigate. The night, cloaked in tension and secrecy, continued its relentless march. Every heartbeat echoing with suspense, every glance carrying implications, every word laden with consequence. The lines between truth and rumor blurred, between private pain and public spectacle, leaving an audience captivated and horrified in equal measure. As dawn approached, the air remained thick with unresolved emotion, the story far from over, leaving the world to watch, to comment, and to wonder what would come next in a saga that had already redefined betrayal, loyalty, and heartbreak in ways no one could have anticipated. The first light of dawn filtered through the blinds, casting slivers of pale gold across the room. Yet it did little to soften the tension that had gripped the house all night. Rasheeda, exhausted but unwilling to retreat entirely into silence, paced slowly, every step measured, her mind spinning through the images, the whispers, the phone calls she had ignored in denial for weeks. Kirk sat in the corner, hunched forward, fingers entwined as though holding himself together physically could somehow mend the emotional fracture he had caused. Jasmine's presence was a specter looming over the scene, her subtle social media posts continuing to stir speculation and inflame the raw nerves of everyone involved. Fans had begun live streaming reactions, dissecting every gesture, every word, every tear, turning the private anguish into a global conversation. The house felt smaller, walls closing in as the weight of betrayal pressed on Rasheeda's chest. "I can't believe this is happening," she muttered, her voice a fragile mixture of disbelief and fury. Kirk's eyes darted around the room, desperate to find a way to bridge the gap, but every attempt felt clumsy, inadequate. A poor substitute for the trust that had been shattered. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the occasional notification. Each ping, a reminder that the world was watching, waiting for a slip, a breakdown, an explosion. Rasheeda's friends tried calling, their voices urgent, sympathetic, yet none could penetrate the barrier of shock and sorrow that had formed around her. She sank into the couch, wrapping her arms around herself, seeking some semblance of comfort in the midst of chaos. "How could you do this to us? To me?" Her words were directed at Kirk, but they echoed through the empty room, filling the spaces that once held laughter and trust. Kirk's attempts to speak were halted by the weight of the cameras, the persistent eye of public scrutiny making every word feel performative, even when they weren't. Jasmine, ever calculating, continued to weave her narrative online, teasing, cryptic hints, posting flashes of nightlife and laughter that made the emotional wounds of Rasheeda throb with renewed intensity. The family, already fractured by previous disputes, now found themselves in open conflict, some defending Kirk, arguing that mistakes were human, while others rallied behind Rasheeda, their support fierce and unyielding. The contrast of opinion only deepened the division, turning private grief into a battleground of loyalties. Each conversation, each interaction was charged with unspoken accusations, simmering anger, and heartache that refused to abate. As the hours stretched on, Rasheeda's tears turned to rage, her sobs punctuated by sharp, trembling words. "I trusted you. Every promise, every word. All lies." Kirk's voice cracked as he tried to explain, each syllable faltering under the weight of undeniable evidence. He wanted to reach out, to soothe, to repair, but the gulf between them had widened into an abyss, each attempt at connection seeming only to push Rasheeda further away. The night's chaos had spilled into the morning, leaving an aftermath that felt almost apocalyptic in its emotional intensity. Friends gathered, some physically present, others virtually, trying to mediate, to calm, to offer guidance, but the drama refused to relent, feeding on itself, growing more intense with each whispered conversation and social media post. The footage of Kirk and Jasmine circulated relentlessly, edited snippets showing intimacy, laughter, and familiarity that ignited the passions of fans and critics alike. Online, communities erupted with speculation, some outraged on behalf of Rasheeda, others defending Kirk's humanity, debating the timeline of events, motivations, and future outcomes. The scrutiny intensified the strain, turning personal pain into public spectacle. Rasheeda's breakdown became the focal point of discussion, her visible despair fueling sympathy and admiration for her strength, even as her tears highlighted the depth of her suffering. Kirk, meanwhile, grappled with the dual pressures of personal guilt and public perception, struggling to maintain composure while acknowledging the collapse of the trust that had defined their relationship. Jasmine's presence, whether intentional or accidental, loomed like a shadow, her cryptic online activity amplifying the chaos, her intentions unknown yet palpably disruptive. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a stage, every glance and movement observed, analyzed, and interpreted by friends, family, and an online audience eager for drama. As the day wore on, emotions oscillated between anger, despair, and fleeting moments of attempted reconciliation. Rasheeda's voice rose in frustration, demanding explanations, answers, clarity. Kirk's responses were halting, incomplete, each attempt to clarify drowned out by the gravity of the evidence and the intensity of her pain. The emotional stakes were immense, with family members forced to pick sides, friends pressured to advise, and fans watching in real time as the human drama unfolded. Whispers of confrontations, public statements, and social media revelations lingered in the air, adding a layer of suspense to an already volatile situation. The interplay of trust, betrayal, and loyalty created a tension that was almost unbearable, each moment charged with potential disaster. As night approached again, the cycle of anxiety, confrontation, and heartbreak showed no signs of ending. Rasheeda, weary yet unyielding, prepared for another round of emotional wrestling. determined not to let the events define her entirely, yet unable to ignore the wounds that had been inflicted. Kirk, too, braced himself, realizing that every choice, every word, every gesture would have amplified consequences, both privately and publicly. The fans continued to engage, their fascination relentless, dissecting every interaction, hypothesizing about motives, and speculating about future developments. The tension between the three central figures Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine remained the epicenter of a storm that had no clear resolution. The drama had grown beyond a personal betrayal, evolving into a spectacle of emotional intensity, public scrutiny, and unpredictable twists. Each passing hour seemed to deepen the complexity, raising stakes, amplifying emotions, and challenging the resilience of those involved. The night's events had created fractures that could not easily be repaired, leaving relationships strained, loyalties questioned, and trust shattered. The emotional narrative unfolded relentlessly, with every conversation, glance, and social media post adding layers to a story that had captured the attention of thousands, if not millions, eager to witness the fallout and speculate about the ultimate resolution. The atmosphere remained thick with suspense, heartbreak, and unresolved tension, a living tableau of betrayal and its consequences. As the three central figures navigated a landscape of emotional devastation, public scrutiny, and uncertain futures, each moment leaving fans on edge, desperate for the next revelation, the next confrontation, the next twist in a saga that seemed far from over. The tension didn't ease with the passage of time. If anything, it intensified. Kirk retreated to the living room, phone in hand, desperately scrolling through messages, comments, and notifications, each one a reminder of the scrutiny he now faced. Rasheeda remained in the bedroom, pacing, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her with every step. Her thoughts raced through every laugh, every late-night conversation, every promise that now seemed hollow, replaced by the harsh reality of Kirk's actions. The footage of him with Jasmine was everywhere, dissected by fans, analysts, and friends alike. Each clip, each screenshot seemed to cut deeper, a reminder that the world had witnessed what she had tried to keep private. Whispers outside the house hinted at more revelations to come, fueling paranoia and anxiety. The cameras captured every nuance, the tremor in Rasheeda's voice, the guilty flicker in Kirk's eyes, the invisible tension hanging between them like a storm cloud. Friends arrived, attempting to mediate, their words filled with caution, empathy, and advice, yet nothing could break through the barrier of pain and distrust. "I trusted you completely," Rasheeda said, voice barely audible, each word trembling with raw emotion. Kirk swallowed hard, the words stuck in his throat, every apology feeling insufficient, inadequate. Jasmine's presence loomed in the background, her cryptic social media posts only adding fuel to the fire, each one a reminder of the chaos she had helped create. The family, already fractured, now found themselves divided even further. Some rallied behind Rasheeda, condemning Kirk's betrayal with fierce loyalty, while others sought to understand, to defend, to rationalize his actions, leaving arguments and tension to permeate the household. The night stretched on, each hour charged with anticipation and fear. Rasheeda's emotions fluctuated wildly: anger, despair, disbelief, and a flickering hope that some explanation could mend the wreckage of trust. Kirk tried to speak, to explain, to justify, but every word seemed to collide with the wall of pain he had built around her. "I never wanted to hurt you," he pleaded, voice breaking, eyes glossy with unspoken regret. Rasheeda shook her head, the tears streaming down her face, a testament to the depth of her heartbreak. Outside, the world waited, captivated by every unfolding detail. Fans speculated relentlessly, debates erupted online, and hashtags trended as the story spiraled further into public consciousness. Friends whispered of private confrontations, secret meetings, and potential confessions, each rumor adding tension to the already volatile situation. The house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a battleground, every glance a potential spark, every word a challenge. Kirk paced, restless, the weight of guilt pressing down, knowing that no apology could erase the damage, no explanation could rebuild trust that had been fractured so visibly. Rasheeda, meanwhile, navigated a storm of conflicting emotions, heartbreak mingled with anger, disappointment with disbelief, and a desire for justice with the lingering echoes of love and history. She spoke with friends, seeking counsel, reassurance, even revenge. Yet none of their words could quiet the internal chaos. Every social media post, every comment, every shared clip reminded her of the betrayal. each one a dagger twisting deeper into the wounds left by Kirk's actions. Jasmine, seemingly unbothered by the magnitude of the fallout, continued her calculated posts, teasing secrets, hinting at encounters yet to be revealed, and ensuring that the drama maintained its grip on both the household and the audience watching worldwide. The tension escalated further as family members began to take sides openly. Heated arguments broke out in the kitchen, living room, and hallways, voices raised, emotions spilling over. Each conversation seemed to widen the rift rather than bridge it. Every word layered with accusation, judgment, and unresolved frustration. Kirk attempted to justify, to explain, to reach some semblance of understanding. But Rasheeda's pain was too acute, her disappointment too deep. The cameras documented everything, from trembling hands to quivering voices, capturing the raw, unfiltered essence of human emotion laid bare. Outside, reporters and fans lingered, speculating, capturing glimpses of movement, waiting for statements, for confrontations, for the next dramatic moment. The emotional landscape of the house was volatile. Each moment a potential trigger, each glance a spark threatening to ignite further conflict. As the hours dragged on, the weight of betrayal hung heavily, pressing down on every interaction, every attempt at conversation, every flicker of reconciliation. Rasheeda's mind raced with memories, dissecting every interaction, analyzing every message. Every smile that had once seemed genuine, now tainted by doubt and suspicion. Kirk, trapped in his own cycle of guilt and fear, tried to navigate a path forward. Yet each step seemed to lead further into the emotional labyrinth they now shared. The online audience remained relentless, dissecting behavior, interpreting body language, speculating about intentions, and feeding the fire with their commentary. Friends attempted to provide comfort, to mediate, to offer insight. Yet the intensity of the situation rendered every attempt fraught with difficulty. The night turned into a long morning, a prolonged confrontation without resolution. Each person trapped in their own emotional storm, the weight of public attention amplifying the personal turmoil. Every movement, every word, every silent glance was charged with meaning, documented, analyzed, and spread across the digital world. Rasheeda's heartbreak became emblematic of betrayal, of trust shattered and innocence lost, while Kirk's attempts at reconciliation highlighted the fragility of human relationships when exposed to both secrecy and public scrutiny. The narrative continued to unfold, twisting and turning, leaving no certainty, no calm, only a relentless progression of emotional intensity. Friends, family, and fans watched as the trio navigated a landscape of suspicion, regret, and public spectacle, each step carrying enormous consequences. The night had transformed into a prolonged saga, each moment building tension, amplifying drama, and leaving everyone involved in a state of heightened anticipation. Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine were locked in a web of complex emotions, public attention, and interpersonal conflict, creating a story that seemed to have no clear resolution. A tale that would continue to captivate, shock, and intrigue as it developed. The tension between Rasheeda and Kirk had reached a fever pitch by midday, the room thick with unsaid words and lingering glances that carried more accusation than explanation. Rasheeda's hands shook as she scrolled through her phone, reading every comment, every DM, every post speculating on what had truly happened. Fans were relentless, dissecting the footage of Kirk and Jasmine with obsessive attention, some expressing outrage, others offering advice or sympathy, and the sheer volume of messages made it impossible for her to find a moment of peace. Kirk, meanwhile, sat quietly in the corner, head bowed, replaying the events in his mind. The laughter he had shared with Jasmine now echoing like a haunting reminder of the trust he had shattered. The house, once a haven, now felt like a prison, each room echoing with past arguments, unspoken regrets, and the omnipresent gaze of a watching world. The family, called in for counsel, had their loyalties tested, some siding firmly with Rasheeda, condemning Kirk's actions with sharp words and unwavering support, while others hesitated, their own judgments clouded by history, personal biases, and the complicated dynamics that had always existed beneath the surface. The emotional intensity was palpable, a mixture of anger, sorrow, disbelief, and a simmering need for resolution. Rasheeda confronted Kirk again, her voice raw, shaking with the force of her emotion. "Every lie, every secret, every moment I believed in you, it's all gone. Do you even realize what you've done?" Kirk's reply was slow, hesitant, each word weighed down by guilt. I didn't mean for it to go this far. His voice faltered, the sentence unfinished, unable to bridge the chasm of hurt that now existed between them. Jasmine's influence hovered over the house like a shadow, her carefully curated online presence continuing to provoke, tease, and manipulate, keeping the drama alive and ensuring that public attention never waned. Friends called constantly, offering support, trying to mediate. But the storm of emotion inside the house seemed impervious to outside intervention. The cameras, ever present, captured every tremor, every tear, every whispered accusation, broadcasting to an audience eager to witness heartbreak and confrontation. The social media frenzy only intensified the tension, fans debating motives, loyalty, and the potential fallout, each opinion acting like a match thrown onto an already blazing fire. Rasheeda's tears turned to anger, a fury fueled by the realization that the world had been privy to the collapse of a relationship she had believed to be sacred. Kirk, despite his attempts at reconciliation, felt the crushing weight of public judgment, private guilt, and the impossibility of undoing what had been done. As the day unfolded, the intensity of interactions escalated. Family members argued over phone calls and text messages, allies of Rasheeda and Kirk collided in heated debates, and the emotional toll on both sides became increasingly evident. Every minor gesture, every fleeting expression was dissected, interpreted, and speculated upon, amplifying the tension with every passing hour. The narrative became a cycle of confrontation, reflection, and fleeting attempts at calm, each moment layered with suspicion, remorse, and a pervasive sense of uncertainty. Rasheeda wrestled with conflicting emotions, a part of her longing for closure, for understanding, for some explanation that could reconcile the love she once felt with the betrayal she now endured. Kirk oscillated between guilt, defensiveness, and desperation, recognizing that every word, every movement, carried profound consequences, both personally and publicly. The house became a stage, the audience global, and every interaction, a performance that could sway perception, evoke sympathy, or incite further outrage. Jasmine, strategically absent from direct confrontations, maintained her presence through the digital sphere, ensuring the tension remained high, the drama unrelenting, and the public engrossed in speculation. As evening approached, the emotional landscape showed no sign of softening. Rasheeda's heartbreak had morphed into a focused intensity, her mind dissecting every action, every omission, every phrase that had led to this point. Kirk, understanding the gravity of his actions, attempted gestures of reconciliation, small, tentative efforts to communicate, to reach her. Yet each one seemed to brush against the sharp edges of her anger, eliciting only silence or harsh words. The cameras documented the scene meticulously, capturing subtleties that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. The slight tremor of a hand, the catch of a breath, the quick glance at a phone notification, the subtle shift in body language signaling both fear and defiance. The fans continued to weigh in, their commentary relentless, each post, tweet, and message adding new layers to the already complex emotional drama. Family discussions intensified, divisions became more pronounced, and alliances formed in the most unexpected places, leaving Rasheeda, Kirk, and even Jasmine navigating a labyrinth of interpersonal conflict far beyond the initial betrayal. The night was looming again, carrying with it the weight of anticipation, uncertainty, and unresolved tension. Rasheeda, exhausted yet vigilant, prepared herself for the continuation of the confrontation. Unwilling to ignore the wounds but compelled to face them head-on. Kirk, aware that the path to any form of reconciliation was fraught with difficulty, steeled himself, recognizing that the decisions made in the coming hours would have long-lasting implications. The emotional stakes had escalated beyond private heartbreak, encompassing public scrutiny, fan engagement, and the fragile dynamics of family relationships. The story, unfolding with relentless intensity, had no easy resolution, leaving every participant entangled in a web of conflicting desires, expectations, and emotions. As darkness fell again, the house remained a crucible of drama, each heartbeat, each word, each movement charged with meaning, with the potential to ignite further confrontation, deepen emotional scars, or offer a glimmer of resolution. The world outside continued to watch, comment, and speculate, while inside, the characters navigated the storm of betrayal, regret, and the precarious hope that some measure of understanding might yet emerge from the chaos. The saga showed no signs of abating, the intricate dance of emotions, public attention, and personal stakes unfolding relentlessly, leaving fans on the edge, desperate to witness the next chapter, the next twist, the next dramatic revelation that would continue to define a story of heartbreak, deception, and high-stakes emotional drama. The night deepened, casting long shadows across the house, yet the tension showed no sign of easing. Rasheeda sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself, staring blankly at the floor as if it held the answers she desperately sought. Kirk lingered nearby, restless, voice low, trying to formulate words that could somehow bridge the ever-widening chasm between them. The footage of him and Jasmine remained a haunting presence, replayed endlessly in Rasheeda's mind and across social media, a relentless reminder of the betrayal she had endured. Each notification on her phone triggered a new wave of anxiety, expressing outrage, sharing theories, taking sides, and, in some cases, offering comfort, but none could replace the trust that had been shattered. The cameras captured every flicker of emotion, every quiver of her lips, every tremor in Kirk's hands, creating a raw, unfiltered chronicle of heartbreak and confrontation. Jasmine's influence persisted, subtle, yet pervasive, through cryptic posts and teasing stories that only added layers of suspense, fueling speculation and intensifying Rasheeda's turmoil. The family became increasingly vocal, voices raised in heated debates over loyalty, forgiveness, and judgment. Arguments erupted over text messages, phone calls, and in-person confrontations. Each member forced to navigate their own allegiances. While witnessing the collapse of a relationship they had once admired, Rasheeda's emotions shifted rapidly, from sorrow to rage, from disbelief to determination. As she confronted Kirk repeatedly, demanding explanations, accountability, and clarity. "Do you even understand the damage you've done? The trust you've destroyed?" Her words cut through the heavy silence, sharp, unyielding, leaving Kirk floundering for an answer that could never suffice. He attempted to speak, his voice breaking with each phrase. I never meant for this to hurt you, Rasheeda. It just happened, but she interrupted, tears spilling freely. "It just happened. You call betraying everything we had just happened?" The confrontation escalated, voices rising, words ricocheting in the confined space, the emotional intensity becoming almost unbearable. Outside, the online audience remained ravenous, dissecting every frame, every word, every subtle interaction. Fans debated motives, speculated on timelines, and offered fervent support or criticism. Their presence, an invisible pressure amplifying every emotional gesture. The house became a stage, the drama unfolding relentlessly, each moment more charged than the last. Friends tried to intervene, offering counsel, encouragement, or distraction. But the magnitude of the betrayal was too large, the emotional stakes too high, for outside advice to penetrate the storm. The cycle of confrontation, reflection, and fleeting attempts at calm continued. A relentless tide that neither Rasheeda nor Kirk could escape. Memories, once cherished, now twisted into reminders of deceit and loss, haunted Rasheeda, fueling her anger and deepening her sorrow. Kirk grappled with his own guilt, recognizing that every effort at reconciliation seemed to collide with an immovable wall of pain and distrust. Jasmine's strategic absence from direct confrontation allowed her to maintain control through social media, ensuring the suspense persisted. Her presence felt yet unseen, manipulating the narrative with subtle precision. The emotional landscape was further complicated by family divisions, loyalties, and expectations. Some rallied staunchly behind Rasheeda, their support fierce, uncompromising, while others sought to understand Kirk's perspective, creating friction and complicating an already volatile situation. The night stretched onward, hours folding into one another. Each moment marked by emotional intensity, unresolved conflict, and the ever-present awareness of a watching world. Rasheeda's inner turmoil surged with each passing minute, her mind replaying scenes, reconstructing dialogues, dissecting intentions, and imagining outcomes, leaving her exhausted yet unable to disengage. Kirk, in turn, wrestled with guilt, shame, and the realization that public scrutiny magnified the consequences of every word, every gesture, every failed attempt at repair. The house itself seemed to mirror the chaos within. Rooms echoing with raised voices, hallways charged with tension, the weight of betrayal permeating every corner. Friends and confidants remained on edge, attempting to mediate. Their presence a mix of support and complication, sometimes calming, sometimes igniting further conflict. The cameras documented everything with unflinching attention, capturing the subtle shifts in posture, the fleeting expressions, the quiet moments of reflection that punctuated the storm of drama. Social media activity surged, fans dissecting body language, analyzing dialogue, creating narratives, and debating the morality, intentions, and future of the trio. At the center of the spectacle, Rasheeda's heartbreak became emblematic of a broader story of betrayal, loyalty, and emotional collapse. While Kirk's attempts at reconciliation highlighted the fragility of relationships exposed to secrecy, public scrutiny, and emotional missteps, the tension escalated with each exchange, each attempt at dialogue, each glance charged with the history of broken trust. Jasmine's calculated presence, though often indirect, ensured that suspense and speculation remained high, her influence a constant undercurrent shaping the perception of all involved. As the night advanced, the emotional intensity reached new heights, leaving all parties, Rasheeda, Kirk, and the watching public locked in a dynamic of anticipation, confrontation, and unresolved tension. Every heartbeat, every whispered word, every subtle movement carried weight, reinforcing the gravity of the situation and the impossibility of easy resolutions. The story unfolded like a slow-burning saga, each development layering complexity, heightening suspense, and keeping fans and participants alike on edge. The drama was far from over, each moment a building block in a narrative that promised further heartbreak, confrontation, and revelations, leaving the house and its inhabitants ensnared in a web of emotions, public fascination, and unpredictable consequences. The night's events continued to stretch endlessly, a relentless exploration of betrayal, trust, and the turbulent interplay of personal pain and public scrutiny, leaving every participant acutely aware that the story was only beginning, and the fallout would resonate far beyond the confines of the house and the night itself. As you've witnessed tonight, the storm surrounding Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine is far from ordinary. It's a tale of trust shattered, emotions laid bare, and secrets revealed in ways that no one could have anticipated. The drama has unfolded over hours, with every glance, every word, and every movement captured not only by the cameras in the house, but also by a world eager to witness the unraveling. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided, each side grappling with the weight of betrayal and loyalty. The images, the footage, the whispers, they've all contributed to a spectacle that keeps growing. A story that refuses to remain contained within the walls of a single home. It's a narrative that invites speculation, demands attention, and provokes emotion. The questions linger, the tension is tangible, and you, the audience, are a part of this unfolding drama. What will Rasheeda do next? Can Kirk find a path to redemption? Or has the damage become irreparable? How will Jasmine's role continue to influence the trajectory of events? These questions aren't just for the cameras, they're for everyone watching. Everyone invested in the lives of those involved, everyone who feels the pull of this emotional roller coaster. And while the footage has given us glimpses, snippets, and moments frozen in time, the full story remains fluid, evolving, and unpredictable. The reactions from friends, family, and fans illustrate how deeply personal actions can ripple outward, affecting relationships, reputations, and public perception. Every post, every comment, every reaction you've seen online contributes to a larger narrative, a collective experience where millions of eyes are trained on a situation that feels simultaneously private and public. It's a reminder that the power of visibility changes the stakes of personal drama entirely. In this unfolding saga, you've seen Rasheeda's heartbreak in full force. A raw, unfiltered display of human emotion that resonates because it's real, palpable, and difficult to ignore. Kirk's attempts at explanation and reconciliation have been met with skepticism and doubt, illustrating just how fragile trust can become when tested in such an intense, public way. Jasmine's subtle manipulations and carefully timed posts ensure that the drama doesn't dissipate, that tension remains high, and that the story continues to grip every observer. The dynamics are complex, the emotions multi-layered, and the stakes enormous. As the world continues to watch, it's impossible not to feel some connection to the unfolding events, to find yourself questioning motivations, outcomes, and future decisions. There's a magnetic pull to stories like this. Ones where human emotion is unrestrained, relationships are tested under extreme pressure, and the consequences of choices are broadcast to a global audience. The ripple effects extend beyond the individuals directly involved, prompting reflection on loyalty, love, trust, and the consequences of actions taken in private but revealed publicly. This is your chance to engage, to be a part of the conversation, to witness and weigh in on the fallout. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you sympathize with Rasheeda, understand Kirk, or see Jasmine's role differently? Your opinions, your reactions, and your interpretations are part of the story now, shaping the way this drama continues to be perceived, discussed, and understood. By liking and subscribing, you not only stay updated on the next developments, but you also ensure that you remain part of the audience that witnesses every twist, every confrontation, and every moment of emotional intensity as it unfolds. The story is not static. It evolves with each decision, each reaction, and each revelation. And your engagement matters in shaping the dialogue surrounding it. Every like, every share, every comment amplifies the voices involved and keeps the narrative alive in the public sphere, allowing discussions about loyalty, trust, and personal consequence to flourish. As this saga progresses, remember that the human element is central. Heartbreak, betrayal, reconciliation, and even revenge are universal themes that resonate because they speak to experiences many have faced or feared. The intense scrutiny, the emotional highs and lows, the divided loyalties, and the public exposure combine to create a narrative that is both captivating and cautionary, a reminder of how private actions can have profound public consequences. Staying connected through subscriptions and notifications ensures that you're among the first to see any new revelations, confrontations, or shifts in the relationships at the heart of this story. It allows you to analyze, comment, and engage in real time, contributing to the collective understanding of the situation and participating in the broader conversation that has captured global attention. Rasheeda's emotional journey, Kirk's attempts at navigation, and Jasmine's strategic maneuvers illustrate the complexities of modern relationships under the unrelenting gaze of social media and public scrutiny. Your engagement through watching, commenting, liking, and sharing helps to illuminate the layers of this drama, offering perspectives, interpretations, and reactions that continue to enrich the narrative. It's a story that thrives on attention, interpretation, and dialogue, and you are now a part of it. So stay tuned, keep watching, and make your voice heard. Tell us what you think, analyze the dynamics, and weigh in on who you believe will emerge stronger, who may falter, and how this intricate web of emotions, actions, and consequences will continue to unfold. Your participation keeps the drama alive, fuels the discussion, and ensures that you are part of a story that captivates, shocks, and keeps fans on the edge of their seats. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Your perspective matters. Your voice is part of the conversation, and the saga is far from over. The drama, the heartbreak, and the suspense are ongoing. And with your engagement, you're witnessing history in the making, one emotional moment at a time. Stay gentle, stay wise. You matter more than you know.